Okay, so now that we spoke about objects, it's time to speak about what functions really are underneath in JavaScript. I'm located in script.js, and that is sitting inside the lecture 46 folder. Let me close the file browser here, and let's take a look at a very simple function. Here, function multiply, and it takes two arguments, x and y, and it returns just the multiplication of x and y. So the first thing I want you to know is that functions in JavaScript are what's called first-class data types. What that means is that whatever you could do with a variable, whatever you could do with an object, you could also do with a function. You could pass it around, assign it to a variable, which is you've seen before. You could pass it as an argument to another function. You could return it as a return result from a function. Functions in JavaScript are objects. They are regular objects that have some special properties to them. So since they're regular objects, I should be able to set properties on them just like I set properties on any other object. So for example, here's I have a function called multiply, and let's test that it works. Let's do multiply, let's say 5 to 3, multiply 5 by 3. And if we save that, we'll see that, well, I forgot to console it out. Let's console.log multiply 5 by 3. And we should see 15, and we do. Okay, so now what I could do is I could set a property on the multiply function just like I set on any other object. So let's go ahead and set a property called multiply dot, let's say version, and let's set it to version v1.0.0. Okay, and let's go ahead and console.log, and let's console.log the actual function multiply. So we're not actually calling the function. If we call the function, we would have to put the parentheses after it. But we actually just want to output the value of the function. Let's go ahead and output the value of the function. Let's save that. And we forgot to put console.log. No problem. We'll fix that. And the value of function is the function code itself. So the reason that's happening is because every object has this inherent method or inherent function to it that's called toString. So if we do toString and call toString on it, we're gonna save that and get exactly the same thing. So what we want to do is actually get that property version. So if we do multiply that version and now we save that, you'll see that the version is been set on our function. So our function is nothing more than an object. Now the fact that it's an object allows us to do quite a number of interesting things that are so useful in every application. Let's go ahead and actually erase a couple of these code statements, so we'll just have the multiply version. And what we'll do is we'll start making function factories. Okay, so let's call this function factory. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a function, and the function is going to be called make multiplier, and we're going to provide a multiplier for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to return a multiplier function out of this function. So we're going to say var myfunc equals, and we're going to make it equal to a function. So we'll do function, and the function is going to take an x as an argument. And again, as I told you, I will put the semicolon right here so I don't get confused later. And what I want to return is multiplier. Where's my multiplier? Multiplier. I meant to say multiplier. So I'm going to return multiplier times x. And that's what I'm going to return out of this function. There you go. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to now return this function as the return result of the function make multiplier. So what I need to do is say return myfunc, and now the value of this function, the value of this function that is sitting right here is going to be returned as a return result. And that allows me to do quite fun things here. Let's try to make a multiplier by 3. So we'll say multiply by 3, and we're going to create a function that does that for us. Make multiplier, and our multiplier is 3. So now what multiply by 3 is a reference to a function that we made inside this function. So in order to invoke it, we'll do console.log so we could see it. And we'll do multiply by 3. And we'll put, let's say, 10. So multiply by 3 times, so it's 10 times 3, so it should return 30 to us. Let's go ahead and save that. And sure enough, it returns 30. So we can make another one. Let's say we'll make another one called double all. So everything is going to get doubled. So we're going to say make multiplier again, and it's times 2. So now console.log, let's say multiply or double it all, double all, and we'll pass it, let's say 100. So this should return 200, and we save it. And sure enough, it returns 200. So you see what we're doing here. We're creating a function. We created a function double all, and the way we created it is by passing a multiplier into our make multiplier function. Our make multiplier function then creates a function for us inside of itself and then returns it as a value. So since again functions are just objects, we should be able to pass them around just like we pass around any other arguments to functions. So let's call this one passing functions as arguments. So let's go ahead and create a function called do operation on, and we'll give it an x. That's the value we want the operation to be done on. And the second parameter we'll call operation. So in this case, let's go ahead and create the curly braces here. In this case, what we want to do is we want to actually execute whatever function you pass to us on the value x. So what we need to do is return, and it's operation, and we need the parentheses in order to invoke the function, and it's invoked on x. Okay, so let's save that. And now we could say result, var result, and we could do operation on, and we could create a value or pick a value. Let's say 5, and we'll say we want multiply by 3. Now notice we're not passing multiply by 3 with parens. That would actually execute the function multiply by 3. We just want to pass a reference to that function multiply by 3. So when we do that, we get a result, and the result will be multiply by 3 passed in with a 5, so it's 5 times 3. So let's go ahead and console it out. We should get 15. So our result is, let's go ahead and save that, and we do get 15. And we can do the same thing again. Result equals, we don't need to declare it anymore because we already said var. So it's do operation on, and let's say 100, and then we'll do double all. So we are multiplying now, we're having a double all as a reference to our function double all that we created right here, and we're passing it into our do operation on as a reference to that function. And once we get it as a reference, we can go ahead and put parens around it and pass it the x that we're passing through the do operation on, and that will execute that function, return the result, and store it inside the result variable. So let's go ahead and console it out again. So let's make some space here so you could see .log, and we'll do result, and then this time it should give us 200, and sure it does. Okay, so in this lecture you can clearly see that functions are first-class data types. You could pass them around. They're nothing more than special type of objects. You could pass them around and treat them as objects, pass them as arguments, return them as the result of a function execution, and even set properties on them just like on regular objects. This is actually one of the core features that makes JavaScript so powerful and so flexible at the very same time.